Good afternoon, everyone. This is Gary Kayye, and I want to welcome you to a special Launch and Learn. We love doing Launch and Learns where we're demonstrating and showing products, especially when we're showing new products. Thanks for joining us today. And of course, you're going to see the entire Mimo Myst family of products. You may remember earlier this year, we brought you the first of the Mimo Myst products, and now they've got a family of products which really simplify not just meeting rooms, but meeting spaces. As we all know, coming out of the pandemic, we're going to go from having dedicated meeting rooms to meeting spaces that'll be kind of populated or peppered all around a facility in the future. We won't just have four walls around all of our spaces. We'll be putting UC tools all over the facility, both in education and in corporate, and as well as in government, I would argue, because people are going to want to meet on the fly and not necessarily be encapsulated inside of four walls, a ceiling, and a floor, because we're just not sure what the future is going to be like. But one thing is for sure, having an interface to a UCC system that anyone can walk up and use is critical. And that's going to be one of the biggest growth areas of our market going forward. So I want to welcome you. If you're an integrator, if you're an end user, or you're a specifier of any kind, the IT AV market, wherever you are, I want to welcome you to this special edition of our Launch and Learn, using our Launch and Learn platform from Mimo Monitors. Reimagine your conference room with the Mimo Myst family of products. We're coming to you live on the Launch platform. If you're watching us on LinkedIn, you're getting kind of like an exclusive sneak peek look from the outside in. You can actually comment on LinkedIn, and those questions will pop up to me here on my screen, so I'll be able to see what it is you're actually asking, and I can actually ask the presenters as well. But what I'd prefer you to do is, if you haven't yet done it, check out this actual presentation inside the Launch platform. You can go to LAVNCH.com, click the Live Now button. It'll have you registered. It'll take less than a minute. It'll have you registered, and you'll be inside the platform. One advantage of being in the platform is you can actually put a question right there on the right side of the video window. If you're watching us now, you can see there's a Q&A section, a comment and question section. You can put your question in there, and you can upvote other people's questions. Those most popular questions are the ones that I will make sure that I ask. Below the video window, we will put some polls in there randomly during today's presentation. Those polls are there because we want to know what you think. We also want you to know, we want to know what you think about these products. We want to know what you think about the future of UCC. So we've got a varying kinds of questions. There's only 3 or 4. It's easy to do. It takes a split second. But what's really cool is the polls are dynamic. So if you answer it early and quickly, you'll actually see the answers change as other people answer it. So you'll actually see a dynamic poll. Below that is Launch Networking. All of you who are on watching this that are registered actually to use the Launch platform can actually talk to each other right now. And of course, if you go to the all attendees section, the room at the top, you can talk to each other or post anything and anyone will see it. We'll kind of monitor all 3 of those locations. We'll look at Launch Networking. We'll look at the Q&A to the right of the video window over here. And then we will also look at your comments coming in on LinkedIn. If you're joining me on my LinkedIn feed, thanks for joining us. You're getting a special look at this because of the fact that I'm a beta tester for LinkedIn Live, which is a new live video platform for LinkedIn. I'm excited to have you today. Look, here's the thing. Mimo is a different company. If you knew Mimo 4 or 5 years ago, you do not know Mimo today. You need to check them out again. This is an opportunity for you to see a new company that is really up and coming with some new products and technology. And I'm excited to be joined by David Anderson, who is actually the CEO of Mimo and the founder. We've got to know each other over the last few years. And David, first off, welcome to Launch.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, and you're obviously in a conference room, and you've got some products set up there, but you've got some people in there with you. So I want to give you a chance to introduce them, and let's talk about some of the new Mimo Myst products.
Yeah, so we're in our main conference room here in our headquarters. I do want to talk a little bit about what we have, but we're coming to you from our headquarters, which is in Libertyville, Illinois, which is about 40 miles north of Chicago. If you're not familiar with us and where we are, in the room with me is Tom Doddridge, who's one of my senior engineers here. Mike, who's focused intently on his email, I'm guessing.
Not true, but
who is our chief marketing officer, and Darren Kimsey in the back, who is our VP of US sales. So they're sort of going to be flies on the wall. Tom will be running our demos. And also in the room, you don't see all the cameras and things like that, but in the room here, we have basically the 3 different Myst products set up: the Myst Link, the Myst for Android, and the Myst Capture, which we will obviously get to in much more detail.
Yeah, we're going to actually go through each one of these products in detail, and you can see one there on the screen, flipping through the different options that are there. But if you want to, by the way, if you want to see all the specific specs, go to mimomonitors.com, and you can go collection/Myst. But it's easier, just go to mimomonitors.com. You'll see the Myst link there. You can see the different monitors. But really, as a touchscreen company, you kind of gone to the next level with what you have here, because what you've done is simplify putting in a controller into a Zoom room, a Teams room, or any other kind of UC space. Because before you had the Myst family, there were multiple cables that you needed to run, especially using some of the platforms like Teams, where you're required to have an HDMI source and other things. And you've simplified it with one single connection. So that's the first thing I want you to talk about, is sort of your design philosophy compared to all the others that are out there that have multiple connection points and aren't as smart bidirectionally as yours are.
Yeah, so the first product to release was the Myst Link. I don't know if you want to put that one up on camera. That's the one that has my name attached to it.
Yep.
And there were a couple of problems that we were trying to solve when we were coming up with the Myst family. The first of all is something that looks as good as it can in all kinds of conference rooms, right? So we're trying to, and I know you can't see the design really in detail. We'll go through it later, but we're trying to up the industrial design and make it look good sitting on any table in any conference room, in any boardroom. And so that was sort of an aesthetic change. But then the other thing that we're trying to do, and in fact, we have this problem right now because we have 3 different systems set up in one conference room. So, there's a lot of cabling. But what we've got set up here is, so the Myst Link is currently set up to the Google Meet room. There's one cable coming from the front of the space, an Ethernet cable. It is Ethernet coming from the front of the space, and it runs down through the floor and up to the table, and then connects to our Myst Link. And then it is that is the only real connection that it needs. However, some other connections we have, which again simplifies the cabling. You were saying one cable, and you only need one, but we have in this case a little speaker mic connected to it as well, which is USB based, which can be run and powered through the Myst Link, and it shows up back at the Chrome box, which is running Google Meet. So you don't need to run USB extenders or things like that. You can put it right here locally. And then this other cable sitting right here is HDMI capture. So here's the really unique thing that we're doing over a single Ethernet cable. I guess I should also say that it also has power. So these things are powered over PoE. Is through one Ethernet cable, you've got obviously the UI and touch, and then some other requirements of the Zooms or Meet or Teams platform, audio and headset and things like that, all connected in. Presence sensor, that's a Teams requirement. But then we are the first and only Ethernet connected touch display that supports HDMI capture.
And that's a big deal, because in the case of the Microsoft Teams spec, it requires you to have an HDMI connectivity, and you're putting the HDMI connectivity on the table, which is different. A lot of the other brands, they're putting it in the speaker bar or putting it in to an adapter that goes to the monitor. Yours is on the table. So what you're actually doing here, let's kind of break it down for those people that are interested in the technology. You're looking at an actual application for in-room AV over IP, dedicated AV over IP, because what you're doing is converting everything to IP. So you're getting the communications, you're getting the video and the audio, all connected to one source, going across the Ethernet, basically across an IP line, straight into the content box, basically, whatever that happens to be. If nowadays we can have Android, nowadays we have Windows, and we also have other computers out there, but you don't need any other connection to actually do this. And so you're meeting the team specification. You now have the ability to sort of extend USB without an expensive extender too, because you've built USB directly. And that is in itself a big deal, because extending USB has become a giant deal, not only because of the cost, but because good luck finding any of them right now. There's a giant shortage of any USB extension products out there. So you actually have in stock a built-in USB extension, and you're meeting the Teams, Meet, and Zoom specifications.
Yes, there's one product, the Myst Link. All the products meet the Teams, Meet, and Zoom specification. That's sort of a stretch on the Myst for Android, and I say that because things like Google Meet doesn't support an Android touch controller. So, if they ever did, it should meet their spec. But that one was designed with Zoom in mind, right?
Yeah, and that's a whole nother thing that's changing the industry, because now we don't have to have dedicated PCs in the room the way that you're building your platform here, which we'll get into a little bit more. So do you want to do, I have some questions for you, but do you want to do a demo and kind of show the different products out there and talk about the features, or do you want me to start asking my questions?
Yeah, if you don't mind, if I just go through the first few slides, just to give people a little bit more background of what we're doing here, and then we can get into the questions.
It's yours.
So reimagining your conference room with the Mimo Myst family. So first question really is, who are we? I don't know that everyone out there knows who we are. So just to talk a little bit, and I promise this presentation won't go very long, but we are basically a niche in the display business, and I'm not offended by that. We don't compete with LG and Samsung with big screens. We don't make interactive whiteboards. We don't do any of the big stuff. We focus on small. Everything we make is 7 to 32 inches. But what we do that's unique is we make each size in a wide variety of different capabilities and features. So we're talking about the Myst family here, which are conference room touch displays. But we make products with bright sign. We make USB connected displays. We make simple HDMI, what you could call a dumb display. But everything we make is intended for the commercial market, long-term availability, long lifetime, long warranty. We are US based. Most of what we make is TAA compliant. We have our own warehousing, and you can find us in distribution and resellers, around the world. And then, some of our customers, anybody who does know us knows who our largest customer is. That I don't think it comes as any surprise that our large customer is Google. We were both in the older Asus Google Meet kit. The touch controller that's in the new Series 1 is also designed and manufactured by Mimo. But then a few other of our customers, Ford and Deere, Hertz, Bose, Hershey, Four Winds, and then many others. And then, we've kind of been talking about why the conference room space is evolving. We'll probably get into that in a bit more detail. But the biggest thing is, in my mind, is why is it evolving? Is more spaces and video first. That's, we all know that we're still in the middle of a pandemic, but that's the thing that's really been driving things recently. And then the rest of it are sort of reference slides against the different products. So the Mimo Myst, what is it? It's a family of products. 3 different products. We call them Mimo Myst Link, which is our AV over IP connected display. The Mimo Myst for Android, which is, for lack of a better phrase, a tablet that is used with the UIs. Again, that's mostly Zoom. Zoom prefers tablet-based controllers, but again, single cable. I don't know that you can see the cables on the table, but PoE and Ethernet, and then runs its own operating system. And then the last one here on the table is what we call the Mimo Myst Capture, which is a modern upgrade from the View Capture for those who are familiar with that. It is USB connected, but then adds the features to comply with Zoom and Teams. So the things that we talked about, a presence sensor, audio, headset. It still has HDMI capture in it. And then we cover a range of costs as well. So the Myst Link is great for any conference room that's larger than just a few feet, because you don't have the USB extension problem. The Myst for Android is for those who support Android-based controllers, i.e. Zoom, and the Myst Capture is a perfect solution where cost is a consideration, or where you're in a place where there's not a huge room to go after. Okay. And I think the next slide here is a video that we have. Madeline, do you want to go ahead and start that? I got a thumbs up.
The new revolutionary Mimo Myst family elevates your conference space while maximizing productivity. Each display features a beautiful, high-end, elegant design at a truly affordable price. The Mimo Myst Link is the first AV over IP display with HDMI capture. The Mimo Myst Capture is a feature-rich evolution of the award-winning Mimo View Capture. The Mimo Myst for Android offers the convenience of the common operating system and only needs one cable installation for seamless connectivity. Wall and swivel table mount options are available for all displays and give you ultimate flexibility to choose the right solution to scale alongside your organization. All displays are also compatible with the largest video conferencing software. Finally, long-distance installation options and the elimination of extra extenders and cables means the Mimo Myst family is truly future-proof. Reimagine and empower your conference room with the Mimo Myst family.
All right, so I wanted to step in, David, and give people a quick shot of what these look like in a little bit more detail there. So if you take a look at this is coming straight off your website, actually, for those people that are on LinkedIn, for example, that don't have access to a browser right now. The Mimo Myst Link, which is the one we actually presented earlier this year, it's got a really nice design to it. And you can see you have all 3 of the interfaces there. It's got a really good look, and what's nice about the design of this is that you can mount it on a wall as well. But I want them to see the way you did the cable dressing, for lack of a better term, how you integrated it into the base of these units. And of course, you also have, and by the way, I'm just basically flipping back through your different products that you have on your website there. This is the capture. Yep. You can see the design is very similar, obviously, slightly different interface as far as connectivity goes. And then, of course, you've got the Android. And all the platforms are going to support Android quickly here, even though right now we only have one of the platforms that support it. But the design is good and the cable management is good on all of these. I'm really impressed with the finishing of this product and sort of like the aesthetics of this compared to a lot of those that we see out there. In fact, some of the other brands I've had a chance to play in the last 6 months, had a chance to actually, Madeline and I had a chance to play around with a lot of them. And a lot of them just kind of feel cheap compared to what you're producing here. And I think that comes down to from the heart of your, history is monitor design.
Yeah, I mean, this is also, at least our probably a third or fourth complete generation of 10-inch stuff. We've been in the conference room space for many years now. And, like any good company, you learn what works and what doesn't, and you make it better on the next revision. So what those pictures don't show is, yes, we've dressed up all the cables inside, but we've also got strain relief and things like that. So not that we would suggest anybody do it, but if somebody grabbed it by the cable or things like that, you're not going to disconnect anything or break anything. So those are obviously from our years of experience, one way or the other. So
yeah, and I have some questions for you if you don't mind.
No, go ahead.
All right. You obviously have 3 different models, and you have this really nice chart online. If you actually go to the page, you have this chart that compares all of them. But if you had to give advice to someone speccing one over the other, like what would be the key decision? Because they're all 10-inch panels. Like, what's the key decision factor choosing Myst, Capture versus Android?
Well, so if you're going with something like Zoom, again, you said it as well, which is they're all going to support Android at some point. Only one of them does today. That's right. That's a Zoom. So if you're speccing a Zoom room, the Myst for Android is probably your best bet from us, just because, that is the preferred architecture. They do support displays, but for reasons I don't quite understand about their architecture, they prefer an Android machine that has its own operating system. And so, it's single cable, works with Zoom. And can be managed through their backend UI and things like that. And then that leaves the Myst Link and the Myst Capture. Both of those are displays and show up to the main PC as a display. And what's the deciding factor between the two of them? The features are the same. They look the same. And so the deciding factor is how big is your room. If you have to go more than 8 or 10 feet from the PC to the touch controller, which really describes every room except like a huddle space, then the Mimo Myst Link is the best solution, because you can avoid extenders and reliability, and you have simplified cabling, and you have HDMI capture at the table rather than the other option if you choose some of the other things where you're taking HDMI capture and having to extend it from the speaker bar, or so you can entirely avoid extending what it is. Sorry.
I mean, I think that the advantage is obvious of having one cable connectivity to the room. It makes it a lot easier to dress the room, but also makes it a lot easier to manage the room long term. And of course, your strain relief design in the bottom is critical to what you just said. Accidentally step it, because there are going to be some people that just don't want to build it into the table and they're going to run it across the floor. But even when you do that, you only have one cable rather than 3, which is what a lot of conference rooms have.
Well, and it's also one ubiquitous, inexpensive cable. So if you do break it, you got to run, $3 worth of Ethernet and not $150 USB extender, right?
Exactly. So, but what else inspired your design of these besides that single cable solution? Like, what else was sort of like the overriding factor of you stepping into this segment of the market?
Well, there's an open-ended question if ever there was one. So I mean, we've been in this market for a while now, right? So we've been partners with Google for years, and even before we were partners with Google, we were part of their internal video systems, right? So we've been exposed to it for many years now. We think we've always thought it's a great market, and we think so even more today, given the upcoming, return to work and the number of installations and things like that. And when it comes to what we do here, it's a pretty dedicated solution, right? There's only a couple of people that make anything that address this market. And most of them are proprietary systems, which are built into, if you buy company X, you need to buy company's X camera and mic and everything else, right? Whereas with our solution, yes, we're bundled in a few kits, and you'll get our technology that way if you prefer to go the conference room in a box road. But if you want to roll your own, then you can buy our touch controllers standalone and connect it to your own speakers and microphones and any other hardware you want to use in the room. Plus, of course, we're supported by, if your room is much more complicated, so you need to get into something like a Utology, we're supported by them. If you prefer to use the software that makes sharing conference rooms a little easier, the Quick Launch of the world, or what's the other one? Display Note,
Yep, Display Note.
Display Note, right? Sorry. We're well, I know that Quick Launch has tested and certified these products. I'm not entirely sure about Display Note, but that'll come if it hasn't already happened, right?
Yep. Yeah. So my vision for the future of the conference room might be different than yours. How do you think we're coming out of the pandemic, going back to work? You mentioned it yourself, people going back to the office. We've accelerated digital transformation. Everyone now, like there's no walking around a facility going, hey, we need to put audio conferencing here, audio here, audio here. Now it's video everywhere. And of course, anywhere you put video, you got to have audio. So, but where do you see this kind of going? Because for me, it seems like that we're going to have ad hoc spaces that are now conference room spaces that aren't necessarily rooms like what you're sitting in.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the biggest thing is the biggest thing in what's evolving in conference space. I mean, you could make it simple and make it and just say that you're just going to get more, but flexibility is going to be hugely important, right? So you're going to want more conference rooms. Most companies now are becoming video first because that's what we've come to be used to. We're all living in a Teams Meet Zoom world. I just don't see us getting out of managing all three systems depending on what customer you're working with, but how things are exactly going to evolve is still being determined. And so what you want ultimately is flexibility. And one of the things is it's a single cable, it's an Ethernet cable, it's ubiquitous cabling, it's everywhere. You can run it over your network if that's what you choose to do. You can run dedicated wire, which is what we're doing here, between the sender and the receiver. And there's no power. You don't have to call an electrician. You don't need 110 volts anywhere. It runs over PoE, which is also a ubiquitous technology. So
yeah, one thing that should be pointed out that you kind of casually mentioned, but may not have been caught by all the integrators are on here, or even the end users, is that unlike these dedicated room in a box systems, if you choose today to take or to install a Teams room and then the organization switches to a Zoom room, you actually have a solution that you could just keep using. You don't have to actually replace the controller or any of the Mimo products because they're universally compatible. Have you had any calls, and have you thought about potentially integrating where you can actually take a room and launch it into Teams or Meet or Zoom, so you have sort of a universal platform? I know that technologically you can do it, but I'm wondering have you thought about sort of like, because you have control of, especially with the Android product, you have control of both sides of the UC, right? The hardware connectivity side and the interface side. Have you thought about that as an application?
Well, so I'm just going to kind of put it this way, which is a lot of us in the AV space are sort of partnering with each other, right? And so if I were to build a UCC software platform, I would be sort of stepping on the toes of some of our partners, like Quick Launch, which is sort of what they do. They have a whole software backend, which makes it easy to switch back and forth. So do I think it's important? Yes, I absolutely do. I believe that, you know, we're going to be in this Teams Meet world for a very long time, if not forever. You know, they're all very large organizations, and I don't think anybody's going to be buying anybody else, and I don't see anybody exiting the market. So, and we've all kind of entrenched in whatever platform we're used to. In Mimo's case, we're built on Meet, but you know, Teams and Zoom are some other ones out there as well. So having interoperability, being able to switch back and forth is going to be something that's of high importance moving forward.
And when you made a large infrastructure investment, that's going to be critical too. And a good example of that would be education, which kind of brings me to the next question. Because in the case of higher education, I could see universities, I could see, you know, K through 12 when they have the money, right? Obviously, we haven't gotten that multi-trillion-dollar investment in K through 12 yet that we've been promised. But in higher education, we see a lot of money being spent where they're all using Zoom now. But as they realize that, hey, by the way, Teams can not only just run your classrooms, but also can run your communications and collaboration between students and when they're working on class projects and between professors when they're wanting to communicate. The fact that they can invest in one interface but have it work with all the platforms is critical. But how do you see these products working, like in education? Like, you know, do you see this as an interface to a room, not just a meeting space in higher education, as an example?
Well, so, you know, the nice thing about each of these platforms is right now we're showing, you know, the three main conference room systems. But they're control interfaces. That's what they are, right? So that's why, you know, I said, I mentioned Utology, I've mentioned Quick Launch, I've mentioned Display Note. You can go on down the list of plenty of other things that that can be done. You know, this is Android. It's a tablet. You run any application that's on it. And it can be the control interface for basically anything. In fact, in higher education, although not with this product, but we were just demonstrating a user interface with Matrox for their controller for Panopto, which is a higher education wave to be able to stream their stuff out. So they're shown here as conferencing displays, but they're generic. That's a generic Android tablet. These, once they're connected, the technology, the fact that they're Ethernet, the fact that they're PoE is all buried inside the boxes we designed. When you connect it to a PC, it's a display, it's a touch, it's a touch screen, it's some audio parts, it's a couple of sensors. And then what you do with that technology is up to the end user. You asked me about software. I'm absolutely not against software work, and we do have investment in software for managing all our products and back end and updating firmware, and we're working on some other software products that we haven't yet announced. But for the really large, complicated things, we sort of leave that off to some of the partners, because we're pretty collaborative in the AV space. Right?
So, it's a good point that you're making. Is that basically all these are? I don't want to undersell them, but all they are monitors. But they happen to have the ability to do touch, as well as audio, and act as a secondary video source theoretically, depending on how you connect it. How about
I'm not offended with that. I mean, we worked very hard to make sure that in the end they're just dumb displays, right? And so we wanted to bury the technology so that the reseller, integrator, end user doesn't have to adopt an entirely new technology. The only thing that's unusual to them is they're running a Cat5 cable across the floor as opposed to what they were doing before. In the end, I mean, we have these things running, but if we shut down, and in fact we can show it, if we shut down Teams over here, it's just Windows in the background, and it'll just show up as a secondary display to Windows.
Right. Yeah. So I have a question from one of the attendees online here, but I also want to ask you another follow-up question to that. So hold that thought. But Glenn Lowry says, awesome product. He wants to know if you have any plans to introduce an industrial design that's a little bit more rugged for healthcare, warehouse, manufacturing, retail, where they're going to have lots of people touching it constantly. Or are you going to defend the design that you have now and say that, hey, it can be used in those applications, or have you thought about that?
Well, so I mean, I feel like I guess my first defense is it has been designed to for the abuse of commercial use, right? So it's been through a bunch of its testing and drop testing and things like that. It is, I can't say it's rugged. It isn't intended to be dropped multiple times, but I don't see an issue with it in healthcare. I actually don't see it an issue with it in industrial applications, because we have some of our products now in those kinds of applications, and they're designed in a very similar way. Now, I wouldn't give one of these things to the Army. But short of that, I don't feel like we're going to run into reliability or mechanical issues. So, and it's been through a lot of those tests. We've done vibration and drop and tests and those kinds of things as part of our qualification.
Is that data published on your site at all, or how would Glenn go about getting that data with regard to drop testing?
We can make it available.
Okay.
We don't make any of those kinds of test reports public on our website for obvious reasons, but we have the reports, and we can make it available. Well,
so Glenn.
For one of them, only that one's been through it yet. The other two are planned. Okay. But they share the same mechanical design, so it's unlikely that bad things will happen. But actually, only the Myst link has been through all its testing.
All right, so check that out, Glenn. They're willing to give you that data. So back to what I was going to ask you. With regard to medical, there's a lot of applications now where, and the fact that you have proximity sensors could be a solution for this, where people aren't wanting to touch things. Have you thought about putting in gesture control? Because like when you're launching a meeting, there's a couple of ways I could imagine, in that application, and even in some corporate applications, with short of having handy wipes right there next to every single display, we have the green guard stuff that's out there, but you also have the ability to connect up audio to it, so that you're launching with audio commands, but also gesture control. You've obviously got a proximity sensor, therefore you could theoretically do gesture control or is that custom? Can you do those types of applications?
Well, as the maker of a touchscreen, right now we have not worked on gesture controls. We've played with it in the past and have worked with some of our partners. The issue with gestures in general, and you've seen this in like consumer cell phones and stuff like that, is it's hard to standardize gestures and catch them reliably. And if the Googles of the world haven't figured it out, it's going to be tough for us. Now we do have sensors in there, and so we certainly can detect people approaching and things like that. But I mean, touch is still sort of the natural interface, right?
Yeah, yeah. And speaking of touch, when you use a Mac computer like a Mac Mini, do you have an application or plug-in to enable touch, or how does the touch interface work in that case? Is it just like...
So we have a driver. It wasn't developed by us. It's made by a company called TouchBase UPDD, if you're familiar with those guys.
Yeah.
But they support our touch interfaces. So we resell their driver at a cost, of course, but we're just passing that cost on from our reseller. So it does work with Mac. Yeah,
so that's obviously not going to be an issue with Teams, but it could definitely be an option for Zoom. So, and that question came up, so I thought I'd ask it. So do you want to show the products that you have there on your table as well? Do you want to kind of go through them a little bit?
Why don't we start with the with Meet here? If you can flip over to the camera that actually has my name, that says David Anderson.
Yep, sure.
And then that's just showing the main screen. I mean, he can interact with it if you'd like. Maybe you can put up a two frame with the camera that shows or a three, I guess, with the camera that shows the front of the room, the one that's pointed at what you see as our main website. I don't see all the cameras, so I'm not sure which one.
Show me the mic feed.
It's
just open.
You don't. Okay. Sorry. How about I'll talk about that. You fix this.
Okay.
Sorry. Technology issues. He's gonna go get that one. He's gonna go get that one running. But we just have a camera sort of focused right at the screen here. This is the standard Meet interface. It's running on a Chromebook. I guess I can. I'd rather not do this. You're rejoining. Okay. Sorry, we're getting our feed of the front of the room back running here real quick. All right. Can you put up Mike's camera feed? Okay. All right. So I guess what you're seeing is, well, why don't you stay there for a second? So what we're seeing here is the standard Meet interface. It is running off of this box here, which is a standard Meet Chrome box, and the Myst link includes this box, which sits at the PC side. Normally these would be hidden behind the big screen or wherever they are. We pulled them out so that you can see it, but the main PC. And then this is, for lack of a better phrase, the sender unit, what we call the link. which converts USB connection and power and things like that, and sends it over the Ethernet connection. And then what you see on the screen here is the laptop that was sitting in the room, and Tom is scrolling on it here, so you can see it actually is a live feed, and that is what is connected to the HDMI capture, in the room. So that's being captured by the Myst link sent over to the Chromebox and then put up on the big screen. I can show sort of how the wiring is put together here. If we can flip to my presentation, I've got a little diagram of the wiring. So actually, I'm going to go off camera here for a second because I can't. So what we were showing is the big screen in the front of the room. Again, we pulled that technology forward, but what you're seeing is the PC and the link behind the big screen. The camera is also up in the front of the room. Both of those things require power, which is generally available by the big screen because that's going to require power as well, AC power. And then we take power. We have a PoE injector inside the link, as well as the technology that goes over Ethernet, and then that runs over the Ethernet with PoE to the link. And then we also show, in this case, the USB connection, which is connected to a conference room speaker mic, but it's basically just one cable that runs from the front of the room to here. And then there's two other cables which may or may not be used, the USB cable to an external whatever USB device, and then the HDMI capture capability if you choose to use that as well. Okay. Then we can go to Zoom. If we put up the backstage, the Mimo info camera. So apologize a little bit in as much as we are Teams users. We are Meet users. So while we have the user interface of each of the others running, we don't use Zoom or Teams internally. So this is a Zoom room demo, but if you could put up the mic camera room as well. That's currently live. Okay, so now you've got it all up. So basically what Tom can do is sort of show that the different controls are working on just the options down the side, or you can attempt to start a new meeting.
We don't have a camera.
Oh, we don't have a camera.
Yeah, we do. But.
Okay. Well, but you get the. Oh, there it is. There's the camera feed. We've stuck the camera behind the big screen, so you're seeing the mess that we're trying to hide from the rest of the world. Oops. Guess we should have tried that before. Yeah, that's the standard Zoom interface. And then we can switch over to, if you just switch the camera feed, leave the front room up and switch the camera feed over to Tom's user interface. And then I can flip this over to 3, which we have connected up here. Can't show a whole lot because we don't have a Teams license, so we can't even we can't even really start a meeting. All we can do is show that it is the Teams interface that's running, and the settings will come up and things like that. Unfortunately, we can't currently start a meeting. So I guess we can exit. You can exit out to Windows and show that it just works as a Windows display if you want to try that. So yeah, you can do that. It's SFB, I believe. Yeah. But at the very least, you can see that it's a standard interface, and if you exit Teams, you just get back to Windows, and then it's just a standard display on Windows.
So obviously, this shows that the products are universally compatible, and ultimately, you have to activate your own licenses for each room system, but there's still touchscreen monitors that are passing the data, power, and video straight up to the monitor in the front of the room. So all of the products, again, are at mimomonitors.com. You can go to the product section. There's actually a dedicated microsite for the Myst family of products, which is what I was showing you earlier. On that microsite, they actually have a nice chart that tells the difference in the different features, like which ones have USB-C versus which ones have HDMI input on which monitors. The resolution is all the same on all of them at 1200 by 800 resolution. The brightness is all around 400 nits, so it's plenty bright for any room. Contrast around 1001 contrast. And then, of course, they're all compatible with each other's architectures, although remember that the Android one is the only one I think that's Zoom certified, that's actually certified yet. But as everyone I think knows by now, Microsoft is coming out with an Android version of the Teams as well.
Yeah, I wasn't actually aware whether Microsoft had officially publicly announced that or not.
Yeah, I mean, it's readily available. Everybody's been talking about it. I don't know that it's come out officially from Microsoft.
Yeah, if everyone knows, everyone knows. But yeah, I mean, it will. It complies with, although the product is not Teams certified yet, it does comply with the specification.
Yeah.
As I say, I wasn't aware yet. Yes, it's generally known, but I wasn't aware that there had been any public announcement about it.
I don't think there's been a public announcement, but it's the worst kept secret in the industry at this point in time. But in any case, David, you did a great job. And of course, the good thing about this is that you did a very authentic demo. This is what we all go through when we're doing demos for customers, is that nothing ever works seamlessly. But the best part about it was the camera, the tilt zoom camera in the background, moving around, trying to find its way out from the back of the TV. The monitor that you have there, but I want to thank you.
We only have 5 cameras in this room.
Yes, right. We need one extra one.
So we hid the 6th one.
Yeah. So I want to thank you for doing that. I want to thank everyone for joining us. And of course, we're going to archive this recording this afternoon. If you missed it, you want to share it with your colleagues, all you have to do is go back to launch.com, LAVNCH.com, and click on Launch and Learn. You'll see the archives, or click on demand, actually, probably the easiest. You'll see the archives there and all the assets that we showed today. I want to thank Madeline behind the scenes for the production, as well as Diana and your team there. Thanks for the work that you did. And of course, go to mimomonitors.com for more information, and y'all have a great day.
Thank you.